Hi everybody and welcome back to the Willie St. Willie channel once again, and merry spooky season out there to all who celebrate, all you ghosts and ghouls and goblins and little critters that come skittering out of your holes, because you probably are like me. This is your favorite time of year. I love all the spooks, the goofs. I love getting all my timbers shivered. And you might remember a couple years back, I did a little fun reading of one of my favorite creepypastas as a kid, a Nancy's Goat Man story. You know, to all two of you who watched that video, you probably remember it. Now, my fellow Willigans, I have a confession to make to you. I titled that video the scariest creepypasta I ever read. And unfortunately, I have to admit, that is a lie. I know, your daddy just lied to you. I know, take it all in, I know. Yes, I was a goober, because buried deep in the recesses of my subconscious, I had buried an even spookier internet urban legend that had shivered me timbers to the core as a wee little lad. Yes, I cooked up something special for you this year, because this story isn't your ordinary creepypasta. This is an innocent little cute Japanese poem that many claim to be cursed. I'm really putting my life on the line for you guys this time, because today, like the video says, we're talking about Tomino's Hell. Apologies to all the Japanese speakers in advance, because I'm going to butcher the Japanese pronunciation. I'm just letting you know right now. Viewer beware, you're in for a scare with this one, okay? If you want to turn back now, tuck your tail between your legs, now's your chance to do it. Before I get into the poem, I'll give a little backstory. Tomino's Hell is a short little poem written by Saijo Yaso in 1919, over 100 years ago. Certified Unk status with this, almost as old as me. It was within a collection of other poems he had written titled Gold Dust, and this one actually has a pretty unique backstory. Now, Saijo Yaso was a university professor. He was heavily influenced by many other French poets, and he definitely has a very unique backstory, as many of his later works apparently were targeted towards children, but I guess this would be concluded in one of his earlier works, so it's a lot more creepier and unsettling with his wordplay. Now, as far as I know, the poem itself wasn't super popular until the 2000s, where it spread like wildfire on the Japanese forum messaging board called 2chan, which is the Japanese equivalent of 4chan. I've actually mentioned it before on my channel when I made that Ninjin video, so go watch that if you want. And upon going viral, this poem really took on a life of its own, because many readers claim that when this poem is read aloud, you are forever marked by the curse of Tomino's Hell. Now, the curse varies. It's very versatile, one-size-fits-all kind of curse, because many of the stories vary from you just straight up die. Like, you can get run out of the street and get hit by a garbage truck, Death Note style, or it could range to the more mundane where it's, oh, you just have, a lifelong streak of bad luck. Every morning you wake up and break your arms, every afternoon you break your legs. Like, it varies a lot depending on the stories, the people who have survived this poem and come back to tell the tale. But some of them never reported back at all on the forum boards. Now, obviously, this is around the same time that many other internet urban legends and stories gained popularity, whether it be through message boards or chain emails, like my OG, Ted the Caver, one of my all-time faves. And obviously, as you might imagine, this found its way to the creepypasta fandom and just got further ingrained into internet pop culture. Now, this story includes a lot of symbolism within the Buddhist religion, and I'm familiar with some of it, and I will explain some of the more, minute details after I read the poem itself and give my thoughts on it. Now, I myself am not Buddhist. I have some familiarity with it. I have meditated with Buddhist monks in my little spiritual exploration phase of my life a few years back, but a lot of the symbolism, when I first read it, went over my head, and I had to, read up on it. And as I mentioned previously, this curse only really works when you read the poem aloud, which I will be doing here today, both in English and in Japanese. I will do my best not to butcher it completely. And I also did my best to read the most accurate English translation of the poem. I will leave a link to, my sources in the description below, just so I can get the most out of this curse. Now, this poem follows the story of a young boy named Tomino and his descent into Buddhist hell for an unknown crime. And before I read the poem aloud, this is your last chance to turn back. Once I start, there's no ending it. Even though young 9-year-old me is screaming at myself to stop. Without further ado, let's get into Tomino's Hell. Elder sister vomits blood. Younger sisters breathing fire, while sweet little Tomino just spits up the jewels. All alone does Tomino go falling into that hell, a hell of utter darkness, without even flowers. Is Tomino's big sister the one who whips him? The purpose of the scourging hangs dark at his mind, lashing and thrashing him, but never quite shattering. One sure path to Avicii, the eternal hell. Into that blackest of hells guide him now, I pray, to the golden sheep, to the nightingale. How much did he put in that leather pouch to prepare for his trek to the eternal hell? Spring is coming to the valley, to the wood, to the spiraling chasms of the blackest hell. The nightingale in her cage, the sheep aboard the wagon, and tears well up in the eyes of sweet little Tomino. Sing, O nightingale, in the vast misty forest. He screams he only misses his little sister. His wailing desperation echoes throughout hell. A fox peony opens its golden petals. Down past the 7 mountains and 7 rivers of hell, the solitary journey of sweet little Tomino. If in this hell they be found, may they then come to me. Please, those sharp spikes of punishment from Needle Mountain. Not just on some empty whim is flesh pierced with blood-red pins. They serve as hellish signposts for sweet little Tomino. Ooh, did that scare you? That spooky a bit? I feel fine right now. Maybe a little tingly, maybe the curse will kick in later. I'll save my Japanese translation reading for near the end, just so if you guys just really want to see me butcher some Japanese. Now, thank you to David Bowles for translating this in the more accurate version, because he put a lot of info in this little page I found him on. Now, apparently the translated word for hell here is Jigoku, which at first I thought was another way to say Goku from Dragon Ball, but apparently it is the Buddhist hell complex into which very sinful people can be reincarnated. And specifically it's Mugen Jigoku, which apparently is the Japanese translation of Avicii or waveless, and Avicii is the lowest hell in Buddhism, where torments last the longest. Because the whole thing in Buddhism is that all of the realms that you be reincarnated into, they're all temporary, they're not permanent, whether it be hell or heaven or the new life you're reincarnated to. Because the whole point of Buddhism is to break out of the cycle and achieve nirvana. And even though hell here in the sense is not forever, it's not eternity, it's still a very long time. When you go to the lowest hell in Buddhism, it's going to feel like eons. It's going to feel like forever, even though it isn't. And the whole point is to properly punish a soul in relation to whatever his mortal, transgressions were. It's supposed to be a case-by-case thing. It depends on how bad you were, what determines what level your punishment is going to be. And apparently there are 5 great sins that you can commit to make you end up in the lowest bowels of Buddhist hell. And apparently they are creating a schism within the community of Buddhist monks and nuns, shedding the blood of a Buddha, killing an enlightened person, or intentionally murdering one's father or one's mother. And many people believe that specific one at the end is the one that Tomino did. So all this punishment that Tomino is receiving in the poem is apparently deserved. He deserves this. As you might have guessed, the sheep and nightingale are symbolic, and most people believe they are symbolic of his 2 sisters that are mentioned in the poem. Now, obviously, this is the literal interpretation of the poem, because some people interpret this as this is an earthly hell of his own making, where he's not literally descending into hell. He is going through survivor's guilt and trauma that is comparable to the Buddhist hell. He murdered his mother or father, and his guilt is eating away at him like he's in hell, basically. And the Needle Mountain and the red pricks he's receiving apparently are elements of Buddhist hell, with the spikes, which I didn't know about. I was like, that's kind of metal. I imagine seeing that in a metal cover art or something. And apparently, according to a Wikipedia article on Sajo, the guy who wrote the poem, he wrote this after the death of one of his relatives, a sister or father or something like that. And he wrote this as describing the effects that had on him, by utilizing the Tomino character. Very creepy and dark. I can understand Well, one, this poem was written around after World War One, so that's obviously not a not a very fun time for anyone in the world, really. But I could see why this became such a popular internet urban legend slash like creepypasta, because honestly, like 9-year-old me thought this was like a real cursed poem. I did not read this aloud when I was a kid. I refused to do it because even just reading it myself made me feel like I was cursed. 'Cause the effect it had on me, almost like looking at the Smile Dog image. You remember that back as a kid? Like that was, my God, that it basically had the same effect, but knowing the more accurate. Because I read the original, like Mr. Creepypasta reading the poem, so there's a few words that were different and things like that, but same idea, right? I feel like this is the more accurate English translation. Hits at home more because it can probably accurately, it can probably accurately portray more of the symbolism better. But do I think this poem is cursed? No, I don't. I don't think it's cursed. I have fun with spooky stuff like this, but I don't think a curse is going to affect me. I'm sorry. To all the Etsy witches out there, I'm sorry. I don't think it's going to do much to me. I joke and say that now, but watch like a ghost come crawling through my TV, like in the rain, and just like kills me, and I just wind up dead on the floor. Or like I get Final Destination, and I'm driving on the highway, and a giant pipe like comes through my window and blots my head off or something. Like, you watch. If you see that on the news, you'll know what caused it. Tomino's hell. And guys, if you're scared, don't worry. Just don't read the poem aloud, and you'll be fine, right? Oh, for those of you who are still around, I guess I'll read the Japanese translation of the poem too. Why not? Tomino no jigoku. Ene wa chi wo haku, imoto wa hihaku. Kawaii Tomino watama wo haku. Hitori jigoku ni ojiyoku Tomino. Jigoku kurayami hana no maki. Mucha di tatako wa Tomino no ani ka. Muchi no shuso ga ki ni kakaru. Tataki yatakaki yare tatakasu totimo. Mujin jigoku wa hitotsu michi. Korai jigoku I inai wo tonomiu. Kane no hitsu ni urisu ni. Kawanu fokoru ni yakaru ho delio. Fuck. Mujin jigoku no tapashitaku. Haru ga tikotsuru harashi ni tani ni. Kurai jigoku tanini namagari. Koko ni yogusu kurumu na yatsushi. Kabai Tomino no mi niya namida. Takeo yugusi God, gushi. Yugusi hayashi no amini. Imoto koshi tu to kokagari. Nakiba kodama ki jogoku ni hibiki. Kotinu batan no hane ga saku. Jugoku nanayama nanatani miguru. Kawari Tomino no hitoratabi. Jugoku karozaba mote kiti tamore. Hari no uyama no tomabaru wo akari akai tomahari dati ni wa hasasunu. Kawaii Tomino no mijurushi ni. Thank you. Mr. Worldwide. I know, please. I know. Also, something I forgot to mention when I was reading this, I saw the word peyote in there, and it just gave me a Vietnam flashback to when I was doing my Island of the Slaughtered video. And I thought peyote was a typo in the post, so I said ponies instead of peyotes. Because for some reason recording it, just slipped my mind that, oh yeah, that's a flower. It's referring to the flower. But it just gave me a Vietnam flashback of that. I was like, when I was recording it, I was like, what the prick's face when he saw the gat? There you have it, everybody. That is Tomino's Hell. I hope you enjoyed that. And I thought that'd be a really good spooky season video because, I haven't done a little creepypasta reading like this in a long time. So thought it'd be really fun to do. But thank you guys as always for watching. And just in case I don't see you, stay safe and have a good one. Goodbye. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. To those of you watching this at night, yep, you. I can see you now. You, Winnie the Poohing it right now. Yeah, you're wearing that shirt, that oversized pajama shirt. Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see you. I want you to click on another video right now, or else.